All right, welcome to day 12's reading from We Beat the Street. The boys are now in high school and they've all met each other. We're going to start with Samson in 10th grade. Samson, George, and Raymond seemed to fall into each other's lives around the middle of the 9th grade. Raymond had watched and admired George and Samson's friendship from a distance at first, but soon, through sports as well as academics, the three of them ended up hanging together on a regular basis. By 10th grade, they had forged a steady friendship. The classes were easy for the three of them, and they all enjoyed outsmarting the teachers and running the halls, taking every school rule to its limit. They found out they had a lot in common, telling jokes, talking trash, laughing at crazy things their teachers did, shooting hoops in the gym, and listening to rap music as loud as they could crank it up. Samson, for one, was glad to have someone to share his thoughts with. Late one night, the three of them sat in the empty bleachers at school. The night was clear, the moon was bright, and the talk came easy. "You think there's life on other planets?" George asked. Raymond laughed. "Well, if there is, I hope they got it together better than we do down here." "Too much drugs and crime down here," Simpson said. "And killing," George added. "And girls who won't go out with us," Raymond added with a chuckle. "Speak for yourself, man," Samson laughed. "I got more girls than I know what to do with, and I don't even have a car, just me riding on my Nikes." "Anyway, none of us really has a blueprint on how to make it," Samson said. "Right now, all I know is I can't let the street swallow me. I have to get mine." "And what will that be?" Raymond asked him. "I don't know yet, but I want more than what I see every day on the blocks," Samson replied. "You got that right," Raymond said. "You ever have trouble telling your boys that you don't want to do something?" George asked quietly. "All the time," the others answered together. "I ain't scared of them," Raymond said, "and I ain't scared of what they think of me, but you don't want to look stupid or scared or weak," George finished for him. "Yeah, something like that," Raymond agreed. "A lot of times it's just easier to go along than say something." Raymond, who could also fight as easily as he could do a math problem in his head, nodded with understanding. "It's all about power, man. And sometimes it feels good when you're getting away with something wrong. You feel me?" Samson asked. "Yeah, man, I know what you're talking about," Raymond replied. The talk faded as the night air got chilly, and they headed to their homes. Samson remembered that conversation well a few weeks later, when he had walked with a friend named Frank down Ludlow Street one rainy night. They passed by what used to be the Twin Cities skating rink, once known as the hottest rink in Newark. "Too bad they closed the skating rink," Samson said with a sigh. "Good music, slick skates, plenty of nice girls hanging around too." "Yeah, man, but the police got tired of breaking up fights or taking reports from kids who got beat up or got their stuff stolen. You know Newark. You stay on your side of town, everything will be fine. You come over here to the skating rink, you get your butt beat. Just the way it is," Frank shrugged. "After that murder last year, there was no way they'd keep the skating rink open," Samson said. "Too bad," he repeated, as the rain trickled down his back. A man who looked vaguely familiar walked up to the two of them. "Hey, man, let me hold $2, he said to Frank. "I don't got it," Frank replied. "Man, I know you got $2. Don't play with me. Give me the money." "I don't got it," Frank repeated, loudly this time. Without another word, the stranger lifted up his shirt and pulled out a gun. Samson tensed, ready for whatever he would have to do. "What about you?" the man asked. "I know you got $2. Very calmly, Samson replied. "I ain't got it, man." Samson knew firsthand that many people in the neighborhood were desperate and wouldn't think twice about taking his life. "What if I shoot you both?" the man asked them angrily. "I could shoot you right now." Samson and Frank said nothing, but turned and walked away. Samson waited for the bullets to slice through his back, but he heard nothing but his thudding heart and the falling rain. Samson thought back to the days of his kung fu lessons with Reggie. It all seemed so simple then. "Forget about outside problems," Reggie had said. "Concentrate your thoughts on a positive flow of energy." But Samson knew he needed more than just positive energy to escape angry men with guns. He felt trapped. Several weeks later, January 19th to be exact, Samson was celebrating his birthday with some friends. "Yo, man, it's your birthday," a dude named Hawk said. "Light up and let's celebrate together." He gave Samson a package of what appeared to be cocaine. "Nah, man, that ain't me," he declared. Samson wasn't tempted to do drugs by the way many of his friends were. He'd seen too much destruction and devastation in their lives because of it. And he didn't like feeling out of control. "What's up with that? You think you're better than us?" Hawk replied angrily. "Nah, dog. Just too faded right now," Samson said. "Besides, you know I don't get high." They didn't like it, but they backed off, mostly because very soon all of them were too high to care. Samson jumped out of the car and left them there, glad to be able to breathe fresh air and celebrate his birthday with a clear head and a clean conscience. But it was hard for him. He knew his options were limited. He was reaching a point in life where the despair and negativity were threatening to take over his life. A few months later, on a hot summer day, Samson and a guy named Spud were kicking it on the corner. Summer days were long and summer programs didn't exist, so the two of them were left with lots of time and nothing to fill it with. Yo, man, I got a way for us to make some money, Spud said. What you got in mind? Asked Samson. Put up some cash, we get some crack, then we split the profits. Easy money, big money. Sounds good, man, but I don't know. I don't want to get caught up in no drug stuff, Samson replied. It's not like the drugs will dry up and die if you don't participate, man, Spud told him. Yeah, you got that right, Samson said. He sure could use the money, and it would be nice to help his mother and family. Finances were tight around the house, and his mother was always struggling to find ways to pay the mortgage, keep the electricity on, and feed all the kids. Don't worry about it. Everybody's doing it, man, Spud said. Come with me tonight up to Harlem. I'll show you how it's done. Samson agreed, and late that night the two of them took a train all the way uptown to Harlem in New York City. They walked to an apartment where a man stood in the doorway wearing a gun in a holster. He patted them down like Samson had seen cops do on the street. They entered the tiny room inside the house. It was filthy. Bags of drugs were piled on the tables. Men with large guns stood all around, ready to shoot in an instant. To Samson, it looked like a scene from a movie. Spud and Samson passed their money to the men, and in return they were given a plastic bag of crack cocaine. It was the first time that Samson had ever picked up drugs. As they stepped out of the house, Samson looked up and noticed the misty rain glistening in the streetlight. What have I gotten myself into? He thought painfully. Easy score, Spud said, seemingly unaffected by the horror of the situation. Hey man, I'm out of here, Samson said suddenly. You take all the money, all of it. This ain't me. Instead of complaining, Spud just shrugged. Catch you later, man. With that, he disappeared into the night. Samson went home relieved that once more he'd been able to navigate that delicate road between what was right and what was real. Ramick, 11th grade. Yo, man, what's up with this? How come there's no Black history classes taught at this school? Ramick asked the history teacher as he flipped through the pages of their American history book. All I see in here is white folks. We teach the history of all Americans, Ramick, the teacher replied carefully. We try very hard to be culturally diverse in our approach. Where? Ramick asked bluntly. I see a picture of some slaves, and 300 pages later I see Martin Luther King Jr. Didn't anybody Black or Hispanic do anything important in all that time? The teachers changed the subject, saying it was time for class to begin, but Ramick seethed inside. He recently helped organize a group at school called the United Students Organization, with Ai Anamari Baraka and another student named Hassan. The USO met regularly, not to cause trouble, but to try to work within the school and community to make changes. Simpson and George went to meetings occasionally, but Ramick was one of the leaders. Our history books should reflect our history, Ahi said. We need more money in this school, Hassan added with passion. Why do they always cut the budgets of schools in the city? Suburban kids have swimming pools and tennis courts and carpets in the hall. We get the leftover desks and old books and equipment. We deserve better. We ought to walk out, Ramick suggested at one meeting. What would that do, George asked, except get us all in trouble? But Ahi seized upon the idea. If just a few of us walk out, you're right, we would get in trouble. But suppose we all walk out, the entire school, he asked excitedly. Ramick grabbed his excitement. Suppose we get other schools in Newark to walk with us. They would have to pay attention to us. We'd have to be well organized, Ahi said. We need flyers and coordinators and troubleshooters. We can do this. The USO worked for weeks organizing the walkout. It was to be peaceful yet powerful. Ramick, George, and Samson all participated in the planning. On a cool morning in April, at exactly the same time, hundreds of students from University High School quietly walked out of the building. They spilled onto the sidewalks and onto the street. Some walked, some drove, some took buses to the Board of Education headquarters in downtown Newark. The buses and streets grew more crowded as, amazingly, students from Shabazz, Central, and other high schools joined the protest. They locked arms and chanted, "We shall overcome," they sang. Police showed up and tried to stop them, but there were too many students to arrest. Besides, the students were peaceful, well-behaved, and focused on their goal. Traffic was snarled as hundreds and hundreds of students marched toward the building. "We want to speak to the superintendent," Hassan and Ahi demanded of the timid-looking secretary who came out to greet them in the front of the building. "We have legitimate concerns, and we respectfully request a meeting to discuss them." The secretary scurried back inside with the message. Of course, the superintendent refused to come out of his office. Students grew impatient and began pushing. A surge of students moved forward, and they entered the lobby of the building. They sat down and refused to move until someone came to speak to them. Hassan, the loudest and most outspoken, was arrested for disturbing the peace. Eventually, the superintendent, an assemblyman, and a state senator showed up and spoke to the crowd, but they did not address the students' request specifically or seriously. Hours passed. Gradually, students began to leave. They had jobs to get to or family responsibilities. Ramick and about 50 others refused to leave the lobby of the building that night. The police set up a guard, More to protect them than to detain them. Someone ordered them pizza, a parent brought them blankets. The students stayed the night, emphasizing the importance of their demands. The next morning, they went home feeling victorious. Over the next few weeks, a committee was formed to develop the first curriculum at University High School that include African American and Hispanic history. Remick was a hero at school and even on the news briefly. He felt good about himself and what he had accomplished, but that did not stop him from getting in trouble. He didn't like his biology teacher. Something about the woman made him want to push her buttons. Remick, you forgot that these lab reports must be turned in with writing only on the front of the paper. You wrote on both sides. Saving trees, Remick responded with a devilish smile on his face. You'll have to do it over if you want credit for it, the teacher whined. That would waste even more trees, Remick said innocently. Besides, every single answer in that paper is correct. Check them out. I refuse to grade a paper that has not been done according to the rules, the teacher insisted. Remick shrugged, balled up the assignment, and tossed it into the trash can. Satisfied? He asked. A couple days later, Remick was roaming the halls with George and Samson. The trio spied a 7th grade boy walking toward them. The kid carried a can of silly string in his hand. Give me that, Remick demanded. You want to get in trouble? He was much bigger than the kid, and the presence of a group of juniors was enough to make the boy toss the can to Remick and scurry away in the other direction. Remick laughed and tossed the can from George to Samson with no particular purpose in mind. Suddenly he said, let's go see the biology teacher. He ran down the empty hall to the teacher's room, then knocked on the door. The door opened and the teacher stood there staring at the friends. What do you want? She asked. Without a word, Remick raised his hand, pushed the button of the aerosol can, and sprayed a sticky web of bright pink silly string up, down, and across the astonished teacher's face. In confusion, the teacher turned to her class. They cracked up, falling out of their chairs with hysterical laughter. The teacher was humiliated and furious. Remick, knowing he had gone too far, disappeared down the hall. Remick Hunt, please report to the principal's office, the loudspeaker announced. Remick slipped into the office and held his breath while the principal yelled at him for being stupid, insubordinate, and thoughtless, all of which Remick knew was true. You're suspended from school as of this moment, Remick, indefinitely, he added. Remick thought about all his mother and grandmother had sacrificed for him, about the loss of friends, and how he really did like learning things. He slumped down the hall and out of the door. In the days that followed, the teacher developed an allergic reaction to the chemical in the silly string and threatened to file criminal charges. The superintendent upheld Remick's expulsion and a final hearing was held. Remick, dressed in a suit and tie and armed with an apology, waited to see his future crumble. When he was asked to make a statement, Remick stood and spoke. He spoke directly to the teacher. I'm really sorry for what I did. I wasn't thinking about the consequences. Sometimes I do that. My mouth or hands go off before my brain gets involved. Actually, I really like biology. I love science, and it's easy for me. I don't know what else to say except that I'm really, really sorry. I hope that one day you can forgive me. Remick sat down, sure that he was doomed to roam the streets of Newark, another dropout with nothing to do. Then the teacher asked to speak, her face still slightly swollen from the chemical reaction. Inwardly, Remick groaned. She walked with dignity to the front of the room. She did not look at Remick, but spoke directly to the superintendent of schools. Don't expel him, she said quietly. Remick looked up in surprise. He's an overenthusiastic teenager. Yes, he's thoughtless and foolish, but he's also one of the brightest students I have. Let him come back to the school. Remick could not believe his ears. The superintendent, after a long and thoughtful deliberation, decided to listen to the teacher. Remick was allowed to return to classes, a thankful, quieter, and more cooperative student, at least for a while.